I just believe in the power of healing and restoration. And I know that if we can just come together and speak about the hard things, we can finally begin to heal. So, this is where we heal. So, welcome to another episode of This Is Where We Heal. Today's guest is Jonah Eisenschenk, who I actually found on TikTok, believe it or not. And what I loved about him was the encouraging videos that he was making that I felt were very similar to my own. And so I immediately thought, I've got to have this guy on my podcast, and reached out to him, and he said yes, and he is here from Montana. What part of Montana again?
Bozeman, Montana right now.
Okay, yeah. Bozeman, Montana, where he and his wife live, and have been for 5 years.
About the last 5 years, yeah. It's been an awesome journey thus far. But
you guys went out there with nothing, you said.
Yeah, I left my corporate career, and we packed up my truck. We didn't know anybody. We found a place off Facebook Marketplace, a sweet little mountain chalet, and we moved.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, the rest has been history.
I think there are a lot of people that would just kill for that opportunity. Just be like, you know what, forget it all.
Yeah.
We're going on the road. We're going to Montana, and that's that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, honest to goodness, I think a lot of people could do that.
Yeah?
I really do. I think, we have far more than we believe we do most days, courage and capability, that is. And sometimes you just have to take the leap of faith. Yeah. And that's what we've done. And it's been nothing short of amazing, personally, professionally, all the ways.
I love that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love about you is that you talk a lot about self-acceptance and accountability.
Yeah.
And taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And I love that in particular, even though your content is kind of geared towards everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's really important coming from a man.
Certainly. Right?
We have guys like Jordan Peterson who talks about accountability and things like that, which I love. But you have such a different take on it because you're more in a gracious, gentle approach.
Certainly.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in my own journey and lifetime, accepting that I can be a masculine man while also having radical self-acceptance and radical self-accountability in the process is profound. And I don't think it's diminished any of my masculinity. I think it's only enhanced it. It's given me the permission to feel my feelings and to show up as my true authentic self. And that alone, I think, is worth the curiosity and uncomfortable process that we all have to go through or can choose to go through to arrive at that place.
I love that so much. And I think that's really hard for men in particular, which I can't relate to that. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I do feel like men they struggle to truly, fully be who they are if there's any part of it that is perceived as feminine or, weak or soft or, whatever all the terms would be. But I love that when you come across someone who has fully developed both parts of themselves and doesn't have any shame in that and can show up authentically in the world, I
think it's all of our own superpowers in our own ways. And I think culturally, we grow up, I think many of us in environments where, like you said, being soft or feeling your feelings is not your type A performer, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the guys that I've worked with in my corporate career or even in healthcare now, they don't want to show that side of them because it's perceived as soft. And unfortunately, by dissociating or avoiding those feelings and behaviors, they don't go away. Mm-hmm. They just manifest in other ways, and they show up in our relationships with ourselves, with other people, in our bodies, instead of just realizing that it is okay to not be okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to therapy. And I think being a gentle man is truly one of the best things that we can do. We can be.
Well, from my perspective, I think the more relaxed and calm and peaceful a man can be because of that inner work that you've done.
Certainly.
I think that's actually masculine. I think that is attractive. And maybe not everyone's that way, but to me that there's a different kind of presence around a man who's fully developed those parts of themselves and doesn't have anything to prove,
Absolutely.
there's not that ego balance going on there
Yeah.
where they feel like they have to be something or be like, a certain way or be the top dog or does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's kind of the analogy of walking into a room and not having to say anything.
Yes.
And your actions and your presence speak far greater than your words will ever.
Yes.
And you can hold that space, whether it's personally or professionally. And that is not an accident.
Yeah.
That is through a choice that you make to lean into the inner workings of your own self. And I think a lot more people and men in general are way more capable than they give themselves credit for.
Oh, for sure.
And it's the facade that I think many people wear to feel that ego or that I'm doing it is only goes so far.
Yeah.
Because at some point you forget the words and you forget how to act instead of realizing that you're 1 in 8 billion in this world. Mm-hmm. Why are you trying to be anybody else?
Yeah, no kidding. So have you always been this way, or was there something specific in your life that kind of led you down that path?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've not always been this way. No, I've lived many different lives already, and I'm grateful for all of them and the experiences they've helped shape me and form me. And God willing, I'm here today as this current version of me. But no, I haven't been this way. I think it was through my corporate career that I realized money is not happiness. Mm-hmm. It's a tool. Mm-hmm. And I don't say that out of arrogance or entitlement. I think it's all necessary. It's necessary. Mm-hmm. It costs to live. But if we worship that, as I think many of us are led to believe and to do, it can be really fleeting because mm-hmm. that bar is always being raised. It's mm-hmm. never good enough. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough to realize that in my early 20s. And yeah, it really began with my wife and I moving to Montana in the middle of nowhere with nobody. That forced not only ourselves but each other to really look in the mirror and say, is this the person that I want to be? Yeah. Is this the person that God designed me to be? And the answer at that point was no. Mm-hmm. That was really humbling. And I think, it was the next probably about 12 months or so that I got really curious about who I was, who I wanted to be. And it was through the mentorship of a great man named Mike, who was president of a company I was working for briefly when we moved to Montana, that really saw and noticed that I needed a mentor at that time in my life. And I think he could see parts of himself in me, mm-hmm. where I was at in my own journey. And he took the time to really invest in me. And that's where I started to learn about emotional intelligence, self-awareness. He normalized that therapy's okay. Mm-hmm. And it didn't mean that I was crazy. It's even the best coaches have coaches. Even the best therapists have therapists.
So true. And
so why am I any different? And I'm not. It really began that journey for me. And it's the culmination of the last 4.5, 5 years of me getting really curious about all this and listening to tons of podcasts and reading lots of books and having lots of challenging conversations mm-hmm. With myself and with those that I love.
Do you think that transformation that you've been in is part of why you started TikTok? Started making your videos on TikTok?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, this is how we connected. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my TikTok has really been, I've kind of created it as a passion project for me. And it's kind of the culmination of my lived experience the past 30 years, but more or less the last 5, of what I've lived through and what I've had the opportunity to kind of glean in some wisdom along the way. And I certainly don't have it all figured out.
Right.
I'm far from perfect. I'm human.
Yeah.
And that's how I show up as.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers, but I can relate to the struggle.
Well, and I think people can relate to that more too.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're just a normal person
Certainly.
That just has been through things yourself. And as you go and you learn and you grow and evolve, you put it out into the world,
Yeah.
And I think that makes the biggest impact too. There's so much on social media that's just like you said yesterday in our conversation, it's curated to look a certain way. It's curated to look polished and perfect. Mm-hmm. And that's fine, I guess, for mm-hmm. certain things. But it's at what point do we start going, this isn't reality. This isn't real. This isn't what life actually looks like.
Yeah.
And what's behind the picture, like what's behind the person that looks absolutely perfect in every single picture and every vacation that they're on that most of the world will never get to see because they don't have that kind of money or that kind of job that leads to that. And it's like, is it actually beneficial? Is it helpful to us, or is it keeping us from being authentic and real, you know?
I would have to say the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that's a question that you're asking, yeah, I would say it's the latter. I think that's the beauty of what you've created in your own way too. And that's why people really resonate with your messages and the way that you show up as yourself. I think any of us who are truly honest with ourselves will accept that life is really messy. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of unexpecteds along the way. And sometimes we don't really know if it's a blessing or a lesson, right?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you started off in a Fortune 500. Tell me more about that and kind of what led you to that point when you were in that. Because I know you said you hit like a really low point in that process.
Yeah. So I ended up graduating school early, had an internship with this company and was offered an opportunity. So I started early with them. I hit the workaday world. And I'm naturally very driven. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is innately, I get excited about. Mm-hmm. And so, I started to earn opportunities within the company and started to grow and build my book of business and my rapport, both internally and externally. And I started to have opportunities and doors open. And it was really at a particular conference where I was speaking. There's a couple hundred people in the room. It was for North America, basically like award ceremony for our customers and in our company. And I just realized that I didn't want to be like anybody there. I saw a lot of men that were very successful professionally. Yeah. But very empty.
Yeah.
And very much hurting personally. And it just hit me. I came home from that experience and I told my wife, I said, if I stay here, I'm going to become somebody that I'm never meant to become.
Wow.
Because I didn't have the tools at that point in time. I was going to become a product of my environment. And I was going to probably hurt myself and her in the process. And so I resigned after getting a pretty large promotion. And everybody was really shocked.
Yeah.
And really thought something, crazy was going on. And it was just my own intuition. I didn't know it was my intuition at the time. But it was just this thing pinging in my heart. And it was like, this is not it.
Wow.
And that's, I resigned fall of 2019. It was a tough time. Mm-hmm. It was a really tough period of my life. I think from the outside, it looked like I had everything. I should be really happy. And I was extremely empty and really sad. Yeah. And it was the first time that I think I really just acknowledged that. Yeah. For the weight that it was. And I didn't just keep working. I didn't just lean into my workaholism and push it to the side and say, I can do more, I can be more productive. Because really that's just a coping skill that's not very healthy. Mm-hmm. And instead I took a step back.
No, I think that's amazing. Well, first of all, that you were able to sit back and go, okay, this truly isn't fulfilling me. Mm-hmm. As great as this is, as much money as I could make, as much as I'm in the spotlight, as much potential as I have, and the emptiness in me is louder than the success that I could have from this. And I think that's really hard for men to do.
Well said.
Because you grow up in this environment of do, be, mm-hmm. be rich, be successful, mm-hmm. be the top dog, be the leader of a Fortune 500 company. You have this ingrained in you almost since birth. You can't help it. It's just everywhere you go. It's everywhere you look, And if you're not that, you're failing, mm-hmm. right? But so being able to not only have all that and be experiencing that and living that and still go, my inner world sucks right now. Yeah. My inner world is screaming out, even with all these material things in front of me. That's so hard. What a hard choice to make, Yeah,
it was. In hindsight, being the more developed version that I am now, it's the choose your heart conversation. Mm-hmm. And that, thankfully, God willing, honestly, I decided to choose a path that was different than the norm.
Yeah.
And it's been very challenging along the way. There's been tremendous uncertainty, but in that process too, I was profoundly humbled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like that's invaluable too.
It is.
And I've been refined. I've been, and we talked about this some yesterday. I think really it was the first time that I realized like God loves me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. God loves me for who I am. I can't earn it. I don't deserve it. I just have to say yes. Mm-hmm. And I just have to fully surrender. I can't dip my toe in the water and say, God, I want you when I want you. It's God, I know I need you.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally changed the way that I live my life.
Wow. What do you feel like since you made that decision, like the doors that you just never dreamed of opening have been opening to you?
Need I say more?
Yeah, I know. I know.
I mean, it's absolutely.
Even your TikTok, like you just kind of threw a couple videos on there and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. And this is the God's honest truth. When I started, I literally say, God, help me say the words that you need me to say to reach the people you need me to reach today. And then I hit record. And all of them, whenever I've done that, they do well. Yeah. So I don't think it's me.
Right.
It can't just be me. Sure, I'm a conduit. I can be a voice. But really, it's trusting that it's going to be what it's supposed to be, that plan far exceeds my own.
It does, because it's not about you.
No, truthfully.
Yeah.
And I am man enough to put my ego aside and accept that and be like, it really is not about me.
I know. And that's when the biggest growth happens. Even for me, like even on social media, like outside of, all of that, like I'm always so like blown away by how the messages that are truly just in the moment where I'm just sitting there with God and I'm not thinking about exactly what I'm going to say, but I feel like I should say something. Yeah. They always do well. They always blow up, and they're the reason that my stuff continues to grow. But it's like it's because it's not about me. Yeah. And getting to that place of going, it doesn't matter if this gets 2 likes or 50,000. It doesn't matter who this is meant for. It's meant for, and I trust that God is using my voice for that reason. Yeah. It's like it takes so much pressure off of it too, which I think also helps with the growth. Like yours has, like just kind of bounced off out of nowhere, because it's like you can show up and just show up with no pressure. You're not trying to be anyone. You're not trying to be anything. Yeah. You're just like, what can I say today to help other people?
Yeah. And I think that is not only pertinent to social media. I think that's just everyday life. Yeah. Right? Like it doesn't matter if there's a camera recording, if there's a microphone here, hearing what we're saying. We're talking just everyday interactions. Yeah. You can just go out and be kind to people at Target. You can smile at the little old lady. You can pet the dog. You can be these little minuscule moments that we think are so meaningless. Yeah. But to that person, you never quite know what they're going through. You don't know their story. Maybe they need a smile today. I know I've needed a smile at different times in my life. And if it wasn't for those God wink type moments of people showing up just when I needed it, I don't know if I would be here.
I know, it's so true. And as bad as social media can be, I thank God every single day for the random people that just like us chose to use their voice on there, that in the darkest moments that I've had were literally the words I literally grasped onto. Yeah. I mean, I can think of specific ones to this day from over 2 years ago that touched me and just got me going for another day.
Yeah. And I think that gives me hope for what I'm trying to do. I think not speaking for you, but it could be hopeful for you for what you're trying to do. Like, it was super cool. Last week, this lady that happens to follow me and really engages with a lot of my stuff, I'm scrolling through and I try to engage with my other people that I follow's content as well. And I hear this voice in this video and I'm like, whoa, that's really familiar. And it was like, it's your voice. Yeah. And it's your voice reaching this lady who happens to follow me, who's experiencing an abusive marriage right now that she's getting out of, that she's reached out to me about for some insight and perspective. And like, that's not an accident. So what you're doing obviously is reaching the people it needs to reach.
And same to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It was just awesome. Yeah. I'm like, how does that, you can't make that up.
I know. It's interesting because, so you went from Fortune 500 to, you moved to Montana, just kind of like started over from scratch. And you're like, all right, who the hell am I? Like, what am I doing with my life?
That's
right?
it. That's true.
And so talk about that, like that moment when you were like, okay, what do I do now? Like, and where you are now and what's coming up for you now.
Yeah. So we had moved to Montana. 3 months later, the world turned upside down with COVID. And we were fortunate enough to be in this little beautiful mountain cabin on the side of overlooking West Glacier up by Pole Bridge on the North Fork. Anybody that's been to Glacier National Park, you know what I'm talking about. It's profound. It's beautiful. It's God in every way. And so, yeah, we were just like shacked up for like 6 months because the world kind of shut down. And it was in that process that I got really curious about not only myself, but like, what am I really called to do?
Yeah.
How can God use the skills that I've realized that I have to bring true utility and change to the people around me?
Yeah.
And I joined healthcare. So in that process, I began working in a senior living community, dementia, assisted living, long-term care, et cetera. And I went from 0 bedside experience, corporate dude, to full PPE, gowning all the way up and down from room to room with people who had COVID and being with people when they died.
Oh.
And
that'll light a fire in you right there.
Yeah. I think my experience of those moments really changed the way I view my life, and it also got me really passionate about healthcare and my further path that I'm hoping to still live out in that space right now. But it was just profound. I can't describe it, but when you know somebody and you spend the last season of their life with them. And this was during lockdown, so they were the only people we could see. That they could see, like we could see them, they could see us. Their family couldn't be there.
Wow.
And you can only communicate with your eyes because you have a mask on, you have a shield on, you've got all your stuff on, and you are sitting with somebody and they ask you, like, am I going to go to heaven? Or they ask you, like, I don't want to die alone. And, like, those are the moments of being human that you choose to be human in. And they're scary. They're really uncomfortable, but they're beautiful. And I was fortunate enough to be with people when they died, and they weren't alone. And it was profound. And it changed me. And yeah, like it just really makes you appreciate the life that we all get to live.
I bet.
Yeah. And that really changed like my whole perspective of why am I here?
Oh, I bet.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Because my corporate life wasn't it. And life is finite. It's the only thing we're all guaranteed is that at some point it's going to end. We just don't know when. And I think all too often we have this false sense of safety and perception that we can always just try tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
And thankfully I realized that that's not
always
something that I want to believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's I love little old people.
Yeah.
They're so wise.
They are.
They're so wise. They're so blunt.
So blunt.
So unfiltered. Man, if you need to pick me up, go work with little old people because they're going to tell you you're amazing every day of the week. And yeah, I just really reframed, again, just like me surrendering to God and trusting his plan with my life, but realizing my own mortality. Yeah. It reframed my life, and it's opened every door that I could have never imagined since then. And I just choose to keep walking through them.
Yeah. I have to imagine that, like, just being with someone as they're going from this earth to heaven, like, that you have like the appreciation that you would have for the things that you didn't realize were important before, you know, like connection with other people. Yeah. The way you treat other people. Yeah. The things you do for yourself, even like living a life where when you're the one in that bed, you can look back and go, I did well. Yeah. I served. I did the things that I know God would be proud of. And so when I'm up there, he will say, well done.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen. Yeah. I realized through that experience that my two currencies in life are my time and meaningful relationships and experiences. Mm-hmm. Because no matter how much money you have, no matter what cool titles you had, at the end of the day, when you reach that point, none of it matters.
It's so true.
I had the opportunity to care for some really awesome people who had great careers, who had everything they could have ever wanted. And some of them, I think, would have felt like they did a good job. Mm-hmm. And I can say with certainty that others felt they didn't. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we're still all human.
Yeah.
You know, like, take off the filters, take off the editing. It's real life.
Yeah, I know. And I think we desperately need that too, which is exactly why I think the stuff you're putting out there right now, not only just because of the experiences that you've had that have given you the gentle heart that you have now and the different outlook on life and what's important, but like just being able to give people a glimpse of hope and just encouragement. Encouragement is so desperately needed. There was this interview I saw with Jordan Peterson, and he was choked up saying it, but he was saying, you know, we don't realize the power of just an encouraging word and how desperate people are for it. And when we look around at the world everywhere, in our country, in any country, but encouragement can literally change someone's life. And we take it for granted. We don't think it matters that much. It doesn't matter if I say anything. Oh, they'll be fine, you know, like, but my God, like, you just don't know. You just don't know how powerful it can be just to hear somebody say you're going to be okay. Like, that was one of your most popular videos.
Yeah.
And I have a few videos that just literally saying you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Those always do well. And it's like that, it shows you how desperately people just need to know they're going to be okay.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I think in a world where we've never been more connected, we've never been more alone.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if people are truly honest with themselves, that most of us just want to be seen, heard, affirmed, and loved.
And feel like we matter.
Feel like we matter.
Yeah.
It's a basic human need. It's a basic human need of connection, of relationship. But we live in a broken world.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of suffering and a lot of uncertainty, and that causes people to get really lonely. Yeah. And so I think to your point, yes, a word of encouragement, a word of just acknowledgement that, like, you matter. Mm-hmm. You know, acknowledging somebody's presence when they've felt like they've been invisible their whole life. And it's the first time that somebody says, hey, I can see you. You don't got to be anybody else. You just got to be you.
It's so true. I remember I was on my way to church, 3 months ago. And there's always this guy that stands on the corner there. And I usually, sometimes I'll stop but I never have cash. Yeah. Never have cash. Sure. So a lot of the time I don't, because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, hey, have a great day. Like, you know, I don't want to be rude. Yeah. But this one Sunday, I knew I didn't have any cash. And I just thought, I need to say something. And I didn't even know what, but I just rolled down the window and there was a stop and there was a lot of cars. So I knew I'd have a minute. Yeah. And I just asked the guy what his name was, and his entire face lit up. And he was it was like he was shocked that anyone even cared. Like, and we sat there and we talked for a little bit, and it just, like, it made my day. I think it made his. Yeah. And I realized, okay, you know what? Like, anything matters. Just letting someone know that, hey, I see you, and I want it, like, your name matters to me. And, like, I don't know, just the simple things. But
well, I think you touched on there that when you not act out, but when you acknowledge people in that way, it's not transactional. Yeah. It's mutually beneficial, right? They feel seen and heard. You feel like, wow, like, I did this. This is a little scary, but I did it. Yeah. And they affirm you for doing it. And it's like a beautiful human interaction. And I think, again, we all long for a connection. Mm-hmm. And it's not a simple, but it is a way that we can connect more with others just in our day to day. And that's really, really neat that you did that.
Do you think that's part of why you love the medical field so much? You're going to school, right?
I'm not in school right now. I did get accepted into medical school. Okay. So yes, I am on that path. God willing, I keep going that direction. Yeah. But that's where things are headed at this point in time, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. I think it's a neat way of utilizing the abilities I have, as well as the curiosity I have to learn, and blending them in a way that can hopefully meet people where they're at in their human experience and some of their ailments and suffering. And I think, granted, I am not one yet, but I think some of the best physicians are those that not only practice medicine, but practice being human.
Yeah. That truly care.
Yeah. They really invest in you.
With the heart to serve. And, you can always tell the difference, too.
Yeah.
In the medical field, you can tell the difference on who's, like, truly meant for this. Like, they have the heart to serve people and care for people versus those that are like, I had to do this for a job.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And yeah, so that's where things are headed right now. What I've shared, on my TikTok is truly a passion project, and whatever that is or isn't supposed to become, it's out of my hands.
Right.
But I'm gonna just keep showing up and sharing some of my thoughts, and hopefully, they can be that nugget of encouragement or hope or a smile for somebody who may need it.
Yeah. And I'm sure as you go into that too, like in your field, like you'll have even more stories and things just working with people and patients and
certainly. Certainly.
So that'll give you more content in a way.
Absolutely.
I hate calling it content. I mean, it is content for some people. I don't feel like that about mine or yours, but...
Yeah, I would say more life experience.
Yeah.
Life experience that we choose to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's a different way of reframing a similar idea.
I wonder what do you think men need to hear to... Because I've seen, there's a lot of guys online too, but it's usually like surrounded by fitness or like... the macho thing. I'm not going to say any names, but there's several in the field where they're just talking about being like an alpha male and all these things. Like, let's talk about that. What do you think about the alpha male concept and all of that?
I think, I think there's a primal hardwired piece in the alpha male that exists that wants to be that, presence. And as I alluded to earlier, or touched on, I think the maturation of that version of an alpha male is one that can still be a presence, but it's far beyond the physical stature or the way that they may look. And so I don't think it's inherently bad.
Right.
But I think when that is the depth of which you've understood yourself, I think it's a lot of your ego. And your ego is just flexing in your literal muscles, right? And muscles are awesome.
They're great. I
love to lift weights.
I don't hate muscles.
Right. I'm not, certainly not. I think physical activity is, great for us. But I do feel that culture can, like others, be too extreme.
Yeah. And
can lead people astray. And I think ultimately you can still lift weights and feel your feelings.
Yeah. You can be really tough and also cry sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think why not normalize that?
Yeah, I know.
Why not? Why can't you be both?
Yeah.
Do we have to can you be an alpha fitness dude and still be like, I love God?
And I'm a person.
And I'm a person and I cry?
Yeah, once in a while. And
Like, I think,
totally.
I think that's my take. And I think that's possible for many people. I just think even in my own life, I think there's a point in time where I think I hid behind that. And because it's kind of the curb appeal and but really, like, was it me? No. And I think, again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I just think that the depth for which you understand yourself can really lead you to some awesome places outside of just being the typical alpha dude. How
do you think, like, and you can use your own experience as an example, but how do you think men go from, like, let's say they're just super caught up in like the alpha world, right? The concept of alpha male and like hustle and grind culture, which again, to a degree, there's nothing wrong with, right? Yeah. Depending on the perspective and the way you come at it. But how do you go from that? Like, or what would you say to men like that are like, yeah, I'm living this life and it's not it. Like, this is not it. I'm lifting all the weights. I'm taking creatine. I'm getting all my protein. I'm super tough and macho. I'm like, life of the party in every room, and nobody's going to mess with me, but I'm also miserable inside.
I would say that it's okay to not be okay. And I would say, like, if that man was sitting right next to me right now, I would say, what really makes you happy? because obviously it's not what you're currently doing. And why are you choosing to show up as this version of you? What are you trying to hide?
Yeah, what are you
trying to hide behind? And whatever that might be for that particular man, I think normalizing and just saying like, hey man, I've been there. And there's far more to life than that.
Yeah.
And start talking about whatever that is for them, and just normalizing the fact that it's okay to not, to not be okay. Like I keep coming back to that phrase.
Yeah.
Because I think so many men are expected, or the culture at least teaches us that to be that alpha presence, or to be that great dad, or that great husband, or that great corporate leader, or that great physician, or whatever, that you have to be only that one thing.
Yeah.
You can only specialize in one thing and that's it. But why not? Why can't you diversify? Why can't you be, you're not just that. First and foremost, you're a human.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think just like leaning into that space, and that's going to look different for everyone.
Yeah.
Because we all have different goals, aspirations. We have different things that make us tick, things that make us excited. But start to get curious about what that is from a place of non-judgment, and just be like, why do I think this way?
And is anyone really going to judge me for being a little bit more human? Probably not. And if they are, that just means that they have work to do themselves.
I can't speak for the female population because I am not one.
Right.
But I would likely believe that there'd be a lot of women who would appreciate that.
Yeah.
That you could still have that presence with depth.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can honestly say, like, in any relationship that I've been in that's failed, obviously it's two people. There's always a fault on either end, or it's just not, they're just not the right fit. You're not the right fit for them. There's a million reasons. But one of the things that I felt was always lacking, that I would have appreciated more, was a man that could just be human too, that could say, yeah, I'm not doing great, I'm struggling, like open up, like communicate their struggles too. And I hate the concept of like, oh, men have to be, they're the leaders, so they have to hold it together for you all the time. Like they can't show their weakness. I don't agree with that.
Thank you.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I don't want a man that can rise up in a situation where it's necessary. I do want that, right?
Certainly.
But I don't like the concept of like you having to be stoic all the time, because that's not real. That's not relatable. And it makes it harder for other people to open up to you too when you're so closed off, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, again, I think it really, it still has to be a choice that each person has to make. And I think many people can make that choice.
Yeah.
To talk about their feelings or say like, hey, I'm not okay. But I do think, honestly, I think there's a lot of men that don't even have the language behind communicating their feelings.
Yeah, true.
I haven't really spoke about this yet, but this is something I intend to speak on. And I have a few in the drafts that I probably should have posted. Let's be real. But if you can't even name your emotions, how are you supposed to communicate them to your partner?
Yeah.
If you can't feel, if you're dissociating so far, and you're so avoidant, which happens, if you don't have the language, how can you communicate? So understanding the difference between an emotion and a feeling. Where do I feel it in my body? How can I say that to my partner and say, hey, like right now, I feel kind of somber and my heart feels a little bit heavy. Like, I just need you to hold the space right now for me, and I need you to be an anchor. Because right now my boat feels like it's really rocky.
Yeah.
And I just need to kind of I need you to hold that space for me. But if you don't have the language to even say that, it's just like, ooh, there's like this, just like the sea is really rocky and I don't know how to say it. And like, is she going to judge me? Like, what if I cry? Like, there's no perfect way.
I agree. I think that could be one of the like number one contributors to suicide in men, is just being stuck in that mental hell and not knowing how to say it, not knowing who they can go to, not feeling like they can literally just tear down the walls and just be a mess for a second. Like, It happens all the time.
Unfortunately. Yeah. It's, I think most people could say they've known somebody who's made that decision. And unfortunately, that is a permanent decision to, I think, what some people may not realize could be a temporary season of their life with the right help and with the vulnerability and the asking for help and talking about it. I think that's something that is a real opportunity for many people, men and women alike. But it can feel awfully dark when you're there. And yeah, just normalizing again that you don't have to do it alone. We're not created to do this life alone.
No, you're not.
We're relationship beings by nature.
Yeah.
And leaning into those people, whether they're families, members, or somebody that you love, or a healthcare provider of some sort, somebody that you trust.
Yeah.
I can assure anybody that they're going to want what's best for you.
Yeah. And being able to decipher who those people are, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Especially for men.
Yeah.
Like if the men that you are associated with the most aren't men that inspire you mentally, physically, spiritually, if they don't inspire you, you might want to reevaluate, because it should be a safe place for you to go and say, yeah, I'm not doing well. And to not be shamed for that.
Yeah.
Or put down or been like, oh, grow up, like, you're fine, be a man. Like, if you're surrounded by other men like that, you may want to change your circle.
Absolutely. I think, that kind of speaks to you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with.
Yeah.
And I would hope that those people that you choose to have in your life, like you said, really help build you up.
Yeah.
And if they don't, like you touched on, perhaps it's time to reconsider where you're spending your time and who it's with. Because I think as scary as that can be too, we all have the opportunity to change at any point in time. Yeah. And there's a lot of great people in the world.
Yeah, there are. There are. They say that your support system is even more powerful than therapy. Like, so the people you have around you are going to actually have a bigger impact on you than even going to see someone for therapy.
I would believe it. Yeah. I think the depth of connection.
Which really makes you realize, like, okay, this is important.
Yeah, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
We don't mess around with that.
And I can honestly say, like, in my past, like, when I haven't had that support system, I did worse than having people now that I can call that I know are always going to be able to hold space for me and uplift me and remind me of who I am. Yeah. When I'm like, I'm a loser. I suck. I'm not doing anything right. None of this is going to plan. But just having people that believe in me even more than I believe in myself sometimes is like so important.
Absolutely. I would reference that back to my previous example of, like, sometimes you need that anchor. Yeah. That somebody that can just help help ground you. Yeah. And be like, stop. I know you're feeling a lot of emotions right now, but, like, you are her. Yeah. Or you are him. And this will pass. I'm here for you. But yeah, those people can really, like, just that presence alone can really, I think, help during those moments, both of real lows and also real highs. Like, those are the people I'm like, bro, you'll not imagine what just happened to me. Like, I'm so excited to share with them. Yes. I'm like, high five, you're killing it. Yes. Like, lean into that space. Like, take the risk. And I'm fortunate enough to have men like that in my life. Where, so true. Oh man, like, there's nothing more than I want to see them just, like, thrive. Yeah, no, that's so true and so real. I told one of my good friends recently, he was, like, he had just, something really great had just happened in his life. He'd like been promoted or something. He was so excited about it. And he had this friend that he had reached out to, and she just was like, why are you always telling, it feels like you're always bragging. And I was like, hey, you have to remember that not everybody can celebrate with you, but that's not your problem. Like, you need to be surrounded by people that will celebrate with you as much as they'll sit with you in your grief. Amen. Because those are the people that really want to see you win. And that matters. Yeah. That matters. Absolutely. I mean, I think a gut check question is, are the people in my life really wanting to see me win? Yeah. Are they there for me when things are good, like you said? Yeah. Are they there for me when things are really not good? Yeah. And they for no benefit of their own, they just want to see me thrive. Yeah. Can they celebrate you even when they don't necessarily have anything to celebrate in their own life? Absolutely. Like, which is a really big one for me. Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. Well
You
said.
know, and that's hard to do, but it's also like it shows you self-awareness. Like I told my friend, like he was telling me this at a time when I was not in a great place, and I was like, but I'm so happy for you. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like for me over here. Getting to see you win makes me happy. That brings me joy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Otherwise people do make it about them.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And I think, you know, that could be a plethora of reasons, but humility in general, I think, is an awesome trait.
Yeah.
And one that you'll feel.
Yeah. So one of the reasons like I wanted to have you on here was most of my listeners for the podcast in particular are female, but not all.
Yeah.
We have a lot of male, like men that watch too, but a lot of the women that watch my show are women that have come from domestic violence or sexual assault situations.
Yeah.
And when you look out the world, like especially in dating culture right now, it's really hard to find the good ones. It's really hard to find men that are evolving and trying to grow and trying to become good people.
Yeah.
Versus like, I don't know. I don't even know what the word would be, but like it feels very rare. So one of the things that I really like to do is when I see that in the world, when I see a man in the world that is a great example of an evolved man or a man that's trying to grow and trying to do good things in the world, I always want to bring them on because it's a reminder for me and other women out there that, hey, like they're still there.
Yeah.
They're still there.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't experienced it necessarily
Yeah.
a lot in your life,
Sure.
these types of men still exist. And I think that it's really important for us to know that because I want to like bridge the gap. Like I want to bring us together. I think men and women do better together.
Yeah.
I think we're better as a unit than we are against each other. And so.
Well, I have to say thank you. I mean, that you would speak to me in that way and even have me here in the first place. I'm very grateful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm far from evolved fully.
Right. Well, no, and none of us are.
I mean, I'm yet to hit the prime.
It's the pursuit that matters.
Yeah, sure. I would get it. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey. And I do think, somehow, some way God's going to use my voice to reach, hopefully men.
Yeah.
Everybody, but hopefully men.
Yeah.
And that I can normalize kind of what you just said and coming back to being a true gentle man.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like, I feel I can so relate to what you just described and probably to what a lot of your listeners have lived through in my own relationships and people that I really care about in my own life. And I think, that's perhaps part of the reason why I started sharing some of the ways that I have started to show up in the social media space. I think oftentimes, to no fault of their own, a lot of boys and men get really distracted by a physical appearance. I think, we're hardwired to acknowledge beauty. And I think there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
Right.
That's part of us. But I think oftentimes it leads to really shallow forms of attraction and lust. And I think there's far more to the way God created females than their beauty.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes, and I'm saying that very nicely, I think oftentimes men get very distracted and they're very driven by something that isn't very pure.
I 100% agree.
And I think realizing that in any relationship, there can be that place of it. But if really if that is the relationship or the motive, then I'd really encourage anybody to look in the mirror and say, it's pretty shallow.
Yeah. Well, and the way it goes back to the way you treat people matters.
Yeah.
Like if you're only viewing people in terms of like, what can they give me because lust is always a shallow,
certainly,
road.
Very transactional.
Yeah, it's transactional. And then someone always gets hurt. And it's always the woman in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
Because women naturally want to love and be loved. And not always, but for the most part.
Most times, yeah. And I think too, just kind of framing it in the way that like, man, that could be your daughter someday. Like, you think your claws come out, but the decisions that we make in those spaces in the dating world, especially in our young adolescent, teenage, and early college years, ages and stages, I can acknowledge that.
Right.
Our prefrontal cortexes are yet to develop. We're just like super excited about life and super excited about other people. But the choices you make in those moments can change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Yeah, 100%.
And I would challenge young men to say, do I want to add value to this young lady's life? Do I want to maybe be the first time that she's experienced a true gentle man? Or do I want to take advantage of her?
Right.
Because if you make that choice, you don't know the outcome of you don't know how you're really affecting her trajectory of life.
And you should care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I think that's a human. It's like a non-negotiable.
Yeah, it should be.
We're, yeah, and not to say that that's not possible to do that. I think that's part of what I'm trying to do and show up to is just normalizing that you can respect people and still be attracted to them.
Yeah.
Like, what a novel idea.
I know, right?
Like you can try to and not be perfect, but you can really see them as the whole entirety and not just what you see from the outside. So
true.
And I think real relationships can be formed and lasting ones.
Yeah.
Perhaps from that approach.
I totally agree. I think that most men, when they're in that season of life where they haven't really fully thought about the effects of their actions, they don't ever realize the full effect of their actions until they're looking at their daughter and someone's done it to their daughter.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah.
I know that was the case for even my brother. He's like, yeah, the things I did, if anyone did that to my daughter, I'd kill him.
Sure.
I'd literally kill him. It makes me sick thinking about it. Like, and it's so true. But it's like, yeah, if men could approach women in how would I want this woman to be treated if it was my sister, my mom, or my daughter? Like, how would I treat them in that scenario?
Yeah.
Would it be different? And if so, what do I need to shift up here? You know?
Yeah, I think that's a great heart check, gut check question that could potentially save a lot of people a lot of trauma.
Yeah, because it just feeds off of each other, right? Like you traumatize a woman who then gets into a relationship with a good man who is now traumatized because she doesn't know how to show up because she's only ever known trauma. But it's, we won't go into all that. But certainly. It's like the cycle continues until somebody says, yeah, enough's enough and I have to do better. And that goes for women too, even for me. Yeah. Like looking at my own life going, hey, yeah, I've ended up in a lot of toxic relationships. And yes, I've ended up in abusive relationships. I know I didn't deserve those things, but I made a choice.
Yes.
I made a choice to stay in them longer than I knew I should have. And I have to stop. I have to be the person that goes, okay, enough is enough. I have to value myself enough to say no more as well. Yeah. You know?
Accountability is for everyone.
Yeah.
We can't escape it. We can try to hide from it and you'll be miserable.
Yeah. I mean, it's miserable in the moment, too, of accountability.
Yeah, true.
That didn't feel good either. But it saves you in the big picture.
Yeah, there we go.
It saves you. Yeah. So, lastly, I want to talk about how you had said this yesterday in a conversation about just how you've gotten to a place in your life where you're really just like, you know what, I'm just surrendering this path to God.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, what that looks like for you, what that means, and what you hope God does with your platform and your life. What is the example you want to leave? That was a lot. Sorry. It was like 20 questions.
We got a lot to unpack there. I think first and foremost, as I touched on a little bit earlier, if whoever's listening to this, if you are yet to fully surrender to something greater than you in this lifetime, I'll let you make that decision for you. Yeah. Call it what you want. But that would be a good place to start and realize that there is something far greater than we can ever understand at play. And truly surrendering to that is profound and doors will open. Secondly, what legacy or what feeling I hope to leave with people through my life. I hope my life is a canvas of or an example of what God can do when you surrender it to Him. And I hope that when people leave an interaction from me, that they realize I'm far from perfect, but I'm authentic, that I love deeply. I love humans. I love the human experience. I think the contrast of life is what makes it beautiful. And I think when we can lean into that space and realize that without the suffering, without the trauma we've lived through, we really have not a lot to compare to the moments that are truly mountaintops.
Yeah, that's so good.
And that it's an everyday commitment. And that, Yeah. Like I hope whenever my name is called and this human experience is over with, I can genuinely feel good about what I did. And that the beauty of a smile is that it can pass along far beyond what you might ever imagine, or an act of kindness. And that's a choice that I choose to make every day with honor, with passion, with purpose, with love.
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to wear on my sleeve. And that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's what God decides to do with that is truly his plan. I every day I literally say, God, use me, please. I'm just a vehicle in this life. And if I can help people realize that there's something greater than what they currently know, that there's something beyond their suffering, that there's hope, that there's a glimmer of light, there might be a different way of viewing this. There might be a different way of understanding what you've experienced. Man, that's a win. Like,
Amen.
Take it all. Take everything else from me. That alone is the reason that I can feel good.
Amen. I 100% agree with that and totally think that that's the trajectory that you're on for sure.
Thank you.
If you could go back to the little boy version of yourself, sitting where you are now, what would you tell him? What would he need to know?
I think I'd give him a hug. Yeah, I think I'd give him a hug, and I would say that I think I would just give him a hug and probably say that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah,
everything's going to be just fine, and that. Yeah, I think I just would. I mean, in hindsight, I think it would have been awesome to reach this version of me prior to the time that I did. You know, hindsight being 2020, but like everything works out, and just to truly, I think with that understanding as a little Jonah, I think it would have helped me in my own development just show up and be present in the actual moments of life.
Yeah,
you know. Sure. And that's a hard thing for a little brain to wrap around. I would not expect my little self to understand that. Right. We're talking like profound, like big complex ideas here, but more or less just that that I was enough just as I was.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So that's what I would say, and that's what I would tell anybody who's listening to this is that you're created uniquely as you are, and the sooner that we can all understand that there's so much power and beauty in that, I think the sooner people can really lean into the things that they're passionate about, things that they're called to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Where can people find you?
People can find me, on my TikTok, in my Instagram, and JonahEisenschenk.com. So those are my three primary platforms.
Which I'll link as well.
Yeah, I'll likely be linked somewhere, but that's where you can find me. In the last best place right now in Montana is where I currently make my videos. Where I'll make them in the future, who knows? But I'd be happy to connect with anybody that wants to have a conversation and go from there.
Okay, well, thank you so much for today. And
Pleasure.
That is a wrap for this episode. So
thank you for having me.
You're welcome.